So the first problem we were actually given at the center was to work on Fusarium wilt of lettuce. And I think you all know we've done a lot of work there. We've partnered with Dr. Mike Matheron, Dr. Barry Pryor. 2 years ago, right in this very room, we had an international symposium which brought together researchers from around the world and, of course, the production industry to address that. So since then, we've ventured forward on various projects to try to make a dent in it. When we first started looking into the problem, we found out that the last field trials have been done in 2002. And we're now on year 3 of doing field trials, and they're getting bigger and bigger. We appreciate JV Farms and Gila Valley Farms have both provided land that we can actually be in fields that are infested with Fusarium and try out. Well, Mike's going to talk about what we tried out. But we've done a lot of work in the area, and you're going to hear about that now from Barry and Mike.
Okay, so for just real briefly, I want to talk about some of our education and outreach efforts that we have in developing web content to help manage lettuce diseases. And so this project was funded by the Arizona Iceberg Lettuce Research Council. Paul Briley, Mike Matheron, and myself were participating. And I'd have to first of all give special thanks to Sonnet Nelson for keeping us moving in a straight line, and especially to Rosa Bevington for her awesome media skills. Okay, so why are we doing this? Of course, we know that lettuce production is a big economic engine for the Yuma area and for Arizona in general. Here are the latest statistics from the National Agricultural Statistics Service, and we can see, the big player still is head lettuce, followed by romaine and then leaf. And of course, the Lettuce Research Council every year has a survey of the most important research priorities for lettuce production, and always for these, lettuce disease control and management comes out top. Now, we all know that the main players, the principal diseases of lettuce in Arizona are, of course, Fusarium wilt, Sclerotinia lettuce drop by Sclerotinia sclerotiorm and Sclerotinia minor, and then, of course, powdery mildew of lettuce. And increasingly, we're seeing more downy mildew of lettuce show up, and then on particularly wet years, of course, we get gray mold. So we wanted to bring the latest research, the content, and management strategies for controlling these main diseases to an easily accessible format. Now, the problem is that much of the information and online information, I'm going to say online information is good. Most of the online information is placed on many different websites, and most importantly, most of this information is not desert specific. So our solution, through a grant from the Arizona Iceberg Lettuce Research Council, is to collect, produce, and disseminate the research findings and to develop effective disease management strategies for Arizona. The objectives include to collaborate with cooperative extension personnel and researchers to collect and identify all this research and these links for this research that's going on, and to design and implement a series of web pages and post them on Desert Ag Solutions website. And accessible for everybody, easy access, to create a set of informational videos focusing on these major lettuce diseases, and then to launch this outreach campaign to make sure this information is presented to the practitioners, to everyone involved, so that we can, of course, improve our lettuce management, or disease management in lettuce. So, to real quickly give an introduction to some of the web content we have. This is a page for lettuce drop, and as you can see, and you probably can't see now, but that clearly, we start out with an introduction of lettuce drop, what the symptoms are, the epidemiology of the disease. Then, of course, we discuss a little more specifically the causal agent of this disease. And being a plant pathologist, I'm very interested in causal agents. Perhaps with your input, we could redesign some of these web pages to have more utility, specific utility for your needs, because that's really what we're trying to achieve here. And then, of course, management practices, cultural controls, chemical controls, biological controls, as well as some of the most recent results from these studies, hopefully in graph format. And then, of course, breeding for resistance. But most equally importantly, we have links to the publications for the critical research that's been done and the information that we presented. So this is sort of our web content. And then I'd like to give an introduction to some of the video content, recognizing again Rosa Bevington for her awesome video skills. And then, of course, you'll see the professional actors involved in this production. Fusarium wilt of lettuce is caused by a soil-borne fungus, Fusarium oxysporum. There are many different forms of Fusarium oxysporum, and each one infects only a single host. There are forms that infect celery, or tomato, or cotton, or a number of other vegetable and field crops. But today, we'll be focusing on the form that infects iceberg lettuce. The fungus first invades the lettuce plants through the small roots, then grows into and blocks the plant's vascular system, reducing the plant's ability to move water. This results in stunting, wilting, and finally death of the plant. Older plants may survive, but are usually severely stunted and cannot be harvested. Now, diagnosing the pathogen in the field is not always easy and requires an examination of the plant's roots. The root system of infected plants may look healthy on the outside, but the disease is visible when the internal tissue is exposed and examined, where there is a clear reddish-brown discoloration. At this point, the plant is severely infected and will not produce a harvestable head. The most effective disease management tool for Fusarium wilt of lettuce, besides avoiding infected fields, is to grow plants that are genetically resistant to the pathogen. There are varieties that are somewhat resistant or tolerant to the disease, and more are being developed continuously. Another important tool is to implement sanitation procedures to minimize the movement of the pathogen to non-infested fields. Now, this involves thoroughly removing contaminated soil from tractors, farm equipment, irrigation pipes, harvesting equipment, and footwear before leaving the infested field. And for success, these sanitation procedures must remain in effect even when the contaminated field is used for other crops other than lettuce. The Fusarium wilt fungus can live on dead plant tissue when living tissue is not available, which enables the pathogen to survive in soil for many, many years. In addition, the fungus can colonize the roots of other non-lettuce plants without causing disease symptoms. For these reasons, the effectiveness of crop rotation is questionable. New research has found that the pathogen population in soil decreases over time if the field is left free of plants and dry. Further research is needed in this area to determine just how many years that field needs to be left fallow before the fungus populations are reduced to manageable levels. Research in the management of Fusarium wilt of lettuce continues and includes annual trials to assess the efficacy of crop protection products and the utility of resistant varieties, biological control products that contribute to plant defense and can be used on organic crops, rapid and early detection of the pathogen before symptoms are visible to the naked eye, including using remote detection technologies, assessment of the disease potential or disease pressure per field with pre-plant soil testing, and finally, maintaining soil health will likely play a more important role in controlling this disease, and research in this area is ongoing. All right, so those are the types of content we're trying to develop, and it's an ongoing process. It's an iterative process. We have our 5 main diseases that we're first putting up on the web. Most of this content should be up within the next week, but we really do need feedback from the community on the efficacy of this. Is this what you need? Because really this content is meant to serve you. Our outreach campaign, we've shared these videos on social media through the YCEDA YouTube channel. The website's just about ready to go live. 1,000 postcards were presented by the Arizona Iceberg Lettuce Research Council through and disseminated in these forums here. Continued promotion at notable events. Where do we go next? Of course, to develop accessible online and mobile content, because we understand the importance of having mobile content, to assist in disease management decisions, and to continue our cutting-edge research to understand disease epidemiology, advanced disease management practices, and get this research up on the lettuce disease website. All right, and so with that, I will take a few questions. Yes. Okay, for the first question, the rotational questions, I would best leave that question to Tom Gordon at UC Davis. He's the one who's been doing a bit of study, and Mike Matheron could probably address that issue as well. And then for the second question about beneficial bacteria and other biological control products, Mike is going to be presenting those in just a minute on some of the results from some of our Fusarium wilt research. Other questions? All right. Thank you very much.